to the class, and tonight we're going to make these two cards. And I'm going to show you how to cut the paper. I'm going to keep it very easy, and I'll show you how to do it even if you don't have the supplies that I have. You'll use the supplies that you have. So I'm going to switch over and I'm going to pin, I'm going to make this my focal point. So you guys can see that? All right.
In the little box. Oh, there we are.
Okay, you're good.
Okay, good.
That's awesome.
Ooh,
Beautiful,
that's pretty.
beautiful. Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to start with this. And of course, you know I like to decorate envelopes as well. So let's get started. And I'll give you the cutting dimensions as well. Okay, so this one takes, the base of the card is, this is Mossy Meadow, and it's going to be cut at 4 1/4 by 11, and you can get 2 cards out of a piece of cardstock. And what I usually do is I score first. So I'm going to score this at 5 1/2. You can see this. And I'll turn the paper over and I'm going to do my cut. This way I only have to score once. So we'll cut the paper. Okay, so this is the base of our card. Then we're going to have the front layer, and that's going to be at 4 by 5 1/4. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces of that, 1/4, one for the front and one for the inside. 5 1/4 by 4. And by 4. Okay, so those are the only 3 pieces of paper that we're going to need for this card. And we're going to use a piece of scrap paper to do the daisies. The stamp sets that I'm going to use tonight are the Crackle Paint, it's a background stamp, and the Daisy Lane stamp set. But you can use whatever background stamps or floral stamps that you have. Okay. All right, and the ink colors that we're going to use tonight are Crumb Cake, Soft Suede, Rococo Rose, and Mossy Meadow. I'm gonna put these aside. And I'm going to take my background stamp, which is a pretty large stamp, and I'm going to ink it up with the Crumb Cake. And with a stamp this large, close this, what you want to do is you want to take your paper and place it right on top, and then just grab a piece of just scrap paper and use your hand and just rub it in. And then you're going to lift up, and there's your background.
I like the background.
Right? Okay, so we'll move this out of the way. All right, so the next step is we're going to stamp with the Mossy Meadow, and we're going to stamp the leaf and the stem. Okay, and just place that down. Yes. Okay. So just did that. All right. Then we're going to take our Rococo Rose, and we'll take one of the daisies from the stamp set, and we'll stamp directly down and stamp down. Great. Then what we're going to do is we'll take the scrap paper and we'll stamp 2 daisies on that. And I'm going to take my daisy punch, the medium daisy punch, and I'm going to punch out the daisy. So if, you know, if you have any flowers, any flower punches at home, that would work as well. Keep hers a little off.
What color is that ink?
It's Rococo Rose. It's the
That's
in
a pretty
color.
color.
Yeah, that's the,
I think I've used it. Have to write
yeah,
that down.
isn't it? I like it too. Okay. Out of the way. All right, and then what I did was I took, let me see here. I just took a little glue. What I find is if you use the liquid glue, just put a dab. It gives you a chance to position and move it around, whereas if you use snail, once you lay it down, it doesn't give you a chance to move it around. So you'll just layer your daisies so you fill in the spaces here. And then what I want to do for the center is I'm going to take some pink glimmer paper and a small circle punch. And I'm going to take a dimensional, actually a mini dimensional, will fit perfect, and layer that on top of the center. You see that?
Yep.
That's a good idea with the glimmer paper because I have a bunch of little scraps.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't take much at all.
And it gives it a little bling.
Yeah. And then I'm going to take, I'm going to use Friends because I'm just using the one stamp set. And I'm going to stamp that up. Hopefully I won't mess this up. And I stamped Friend. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I'm going to do is while I have my ink out, I'm going to stamp the inside. And on this one, I'm going to use The Best Moments of My Life Happen With You. So let's just ink that up. Center that. I'm going to go back to my daisy and my Rococo Rose. And I'm just going to place a daisy in the corner. And sometimes I like to place a daisy up on the top as well. And just add something a little different.
It looks good.
Right?
Yep.
But for the envelope, what I decided to do is there's another daisy in the stamp set. It's this one. It kind of looks like a Gerber daisy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stamp this on the envelope. Okay. All right. So now all of our stamping is done. And now we start putting the card together. So I'm going to fold at the score line and using my bone folder, I'll crease it really well. I'm going to take my glue and I'm going to glue this to the inside. Make sure I don't put it upside down. And then I'll take the front and I'll do the same thing. And a friend of mine suggested, because I can never get this straight, is when you lay this down, focus on the top, make sure that's straight, and then it usually goes on straight. That's not too bad. Nope. Okay.
I really like the centers.
So that's it. That's the one,
was
the first
easy.
card, right? Pretty easy. So background stamp and a flower and a sentiment.
And the dark base really popped the whole thing when you put it on that dark base like that.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So let me show you the next card. I'll clean up my area.
One question, I don't know if I caught it. Was that Whisper White or Very Vanilla?
Ah, very good point. I forgot to mention. It's very vanilla.
Okay.
And,
I thought so, but I can't always tell.
Yeah.
The soft suede and the crumb cake look really nice against that.
Yeah, very pretty.
All right, so we'll get started with this one. And with this one, I'm going to show you what I used, and then I'm going to tell you how to do it without all the if you don't have a die cutting machine or anything. Okay, so put the envelope here. All right, so what I did was I have my base, which is, again, 4 1/4 by 11. You're going to fold it at the score line, use your bone folder and crease it. And then I took a piece of 4 1/4 by 5. This is Whisper White. And I ran it through an embossing folder called Subtle. It's really very subtle. You probably can't even see it. I don't know if you can see.
Oh yeah,
A little textured like.
like a linen look almost. It looks.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, oh, now there you go.
Oh, yeah, you can see it. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Very subtle.
So
I like it.
It's very subtle. I think it gives it a nice little texture to it. Okay, so I'm using the Painted Poppies. Painted Poppies, I think it is. Yes. In this card, and let me measure this. This is 2.5 by 2.5 inch square is the center. And then I have a scalloped square that is 3 by 3. Now what I used to do this was the framelits, the layering squares framelits, and it has the scalloped and then just the regular cut. But if you don't have that, which is fine, then just cut out a piece of black paper or coordinating paper to your printed paper, and you just do 3 by 3 inch square. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a 3 by 3. Okay. So there's your 3 by 3 inch square. And then this is a 2.5 by 2.5 is your designer series paper. 2.5.
I just love that paper.
Right?
It's pretty.
So
It is
pretty.
pretty.
Okay, so that would be the way we would layer that up. So I'll take this out of the way. Now, what I have here is the back of that designer series paper. Or you can go ahead and use the poppy, this is cardstock. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use the cardstock for this. And it's measuring in at 4 by 1. So I will just cut my sheet at 4. So get all my pieces together. And then this piece here, where I have the sentiment, is 1 inch by about 3.5. So I just have a 1 inch strip that I cut out. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp this with Memento black ink. I'm going to leave a little on the edge because I want to angle cut it. Okay, so go straight down, don't rock, and lift up. Then I'll take my scissor and I'm just going to cut angle down on one side. And then I'm just going to cut it going angle up. So kind of, I don't know, what is that? There's a name for this triangle.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I failed geometry.
Trapezoid?
Geometry.
Is it a trapezoid?
Trapezoid, that's
Maybe.
it. Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so on the inside of the card, so I'm going to take the base. I'm going to stamp ink up in the Memento black. And this one is from the Painted Poppies. But you could use whatever flower or that you have. So I'm just going to paint stamp that down there. And I think I have a sentiment. I do. This one says, you're seriously the best. So I'm going to stamp that on the inside. Great. And that's all for the stamping on this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some markers, and you could use blends, whatever, but I'm just going to use markers. And I'm just going to color in the leaves and the stem in the old olive. And the nice thing about this, I'm not perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think it still looks good. It doesn't have to be in the lines, because I am terrible at coloring in the lines. And then I'm going to do the flower. So I'm going to outline it first and just follow the stamp set. And then I'm going to leave some white in it. And while I'm here, I'm going to grab an envelope. And I'm going to do that flower on the envelope as well. Match set. And again, I'm just going to color it in. And if you don't have markers, pencils will work. As I mentioned, the stamping blends would work. And outline the flower. Oh, do I have someone? Okay, so that part is done. So the envelope is done. The card is ready to be put together. So I'm going to take this piece that I embossed, and I'm going to take the 2.5 by 2.5 inch square. I'm going to adhere that. I'm going to go ahead and use my scalloped one, but you can use, as I showed you, just the regular square that we cut. And I'm going to adhere the 4 by 4 inch by 1 inch piece to the front of the card. And then I'm going to use stamping dimensionals, and this is where I'll use my bigger ones. And I'm going to put a little height on this. Take off the backing. I'm just going to lay that right over that piece. And then I'm also going to do the same with the greeting here. I'm also going to put this up on dimensionals. It's a very simple card, so I think it needs that. Okay. All right, so that's the front. And I'm going to add a ribbon. I've already gone ahead. I don't want to bore you with my ribbon making. I'm going to add this to the center. There. And what I'm also going to do is I have some sequins. It's hard to see here. I don't know if you can see them. You see them?
Oh, yeah.
You see them when they're up close. And this is the Peaceful Poppies sequins. Oh, let's see if I could open it without spilling it all. Okay. So I'm gonna take your pick tool, and this is great for this. It's got like a putty edge here, and I'm gonna look for some colors that I want. So I'm gonna do a clear, and I'm gonna stick it on top of my glue dot. Oh, my putty got stuck. Oh, that is so funny. Got caught in the back. Okay, and I think I'll put a gold one. Okay, and then I'll just take this and just lay these. Oh, fell off the glue dot. You can put as many sequins as you want. I just put 3. Okay, and now we're ready to lay down the front onto the front of the card. Okay, remember it doesn't take that much glue. Make sure you're going the right way. Start at the top. And
That's
there you
really,
go.
really pretty. Really
Very
pretty.
nice.
So very quick and easy cards to make. It's perfect to send out, you know, to friends during this time. Do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions?
Oh, it's really pretty. And I wouldn't have thought to use the back of that designer series paper. I always forget about that. I always pick a side I like, and then I forget the other side is.
The other side, yeah.
Mhm.
And normally, I mean, you know me, normally I'll take the designer series paper and I'll cut it 2.5 inch by 6 and put it across the back. So that would make a nice envelope to go with it as well. But
Yeah.
I'm hoarding this paper. I love it so much that I didn't have enough.
But I like when you stamp something on the envelope too. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I
Right?
love the way that flower looks on the envelope.
Yeah, it's like perfectly made for that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, move this mess out of the way. Okay, well, I really appreciate you stamping with me tonight. I'm going to shut off the recording and we can chat. Bear with me for a second. Thank you for joining us.